There's a forest in the west of Ireland that never appeared on the map. It's said that this forest attracts hopeless people. Like a pimp in a bonfire, no one could ever tell what was in the woods because those who went astray never came back out. The same goes for this man who is seeking to escape the mysterious forest. He's obviously being squeezed by time because he may have reminded himself that the sun was almost setting. This man is trying to speed up his pace to speed up, but after a short run instead he found himself running a loop back to the same spot. At the moment, he is both confused and alarmed because he's starting to realize that in this forest, there's no escape. After seeing that the sun has set the horizon, suddenly a large flock of birds flew over his head. Before he heard the heavy footsteps of something heading this way. With terror, the man then decided to climb the tree to the top, but soon he fell because he was shocked by a bird. The man lay firmly on the ground for a moment, before he slowly moved with pain and crawled back to pick up his shoulder bag. Now he can feel that in the darkness and silence in this forest. It's something approaching. The footsteps and the creepy roar of it started to frighten him, almost stopped breathing. But all he could do was sit still and wait for fate, until that thing finally appeared right in front of him, before it dragged his body away and get him into its pit quickly. Later, a young woman named Mina. She took jobs as a pet keeper in a small animal shop in cities one of Ireland. And tomorrow her employer also used her to drive a parrot to the next city zoo. When it comes to the morning of the journey legs, I put a parrot cage in her car and drive out of town. While stopping by to refuel, she also received a voicemail from her twin sister that sent a reminder that today is the 15th anniversary that the couple's mother left. And if you observe the conversation, we will guess that Mina. She's been out of touch with her sister for years, which looks like Mina. She's got some kind of knot that makes her an introvert like this. After the refueling is done, Mina went on, without her even knowing that the path ahead, it's the most missing route. Not for long, GPS also leads the page into the deep forest, which she was very surprised about, because this road is not a concrete road and no car followed her. While the car is going, suddenly, her cell phone signal, it's suddenly disconnected. Before her good car came all the way, it will gradually uncaused extinguished. Mina tried to twist the keys to start the car again, but that was to no avail. So she got out of the car to check the engine and found her car, the radiator, exploding. Mina then took the parrot out of the car and walked out shouting for help from the people in the neighborhood. But when she didn't find anyone and was about to walk back to the car instead, she found her car parked. Now it's gone. Mina tries to run looking for her car in a panic, but it seems the further she runs, it's even more to get her lost in this forest. So she decided to spend a night in this forest, hoping that tomorrow morning she's going to keep looking for her car. Anyway, after the sun goes down, suddenly Mina instead, a large flock of birds flew by. It's like what they're running from. Besides, she also recognized the tremors on the ground, and a roar was heard inside the woods. Before she looked at the shadow of an old woman walk through her face quickly, so she tried to run after the woman and tried to shout for her help. But the woman tried to run away and then hid in a building located in the middle of the forest. Not for long, the woman then opened the door and told Mina to hurry inside if she still didn't want to die. Mina don't understand what the woman's talking about, but she also needs to follow because the woman is counting down to prepare to close the door. When the Mina came inside, she found out that besides the woman, there are still two people in this building. At this time, the face is both confused and confused. What exactly is all this? Before this old lady, she suggested that her name was Madeline. The other two members are named Kira and Daniel. Madeline reveals that all three of them. It's no different from Mina, who accidentally got lost in this forest, and this building, they call it a cage. But still not shocked, Madeline then ordered Kira to bring Mina up and stand in front of the mirror. She say the Watchers. It will be very exciting to see a new member come in. Mina don't know what Watchers Madeline meant, but she also needs to follow, while all three look terrified of nothing. It's like they do this on a regular basis. Before long, the four heard their footsteps. Watcher walked to stop in front of the building across from the mirror. Before Madeline will order Mina to move forward, by reasoning that they outside wanted to see her face clearly. Suddenly, there was something ringing outside, with Madeline explaining that was the applause of the Watchers. That applauded Mina into their official show. And that night, it's the first night of terror in this forest. What will you do after Mina? Will she escape this forest? Including what's outside called Watchers. What exactly is it? The next morning after the creepy night, she didn't wait, hurry and walk out to find her car. But while walking back, Mina can feel someone walking with her. Before she could look, a girl in a pink dress was slowly turning to her. Shocked, Mina ran away and appeared on one of the valleys. Now she doesn't know what to do next, because around you there's no way to get out of this forest. But not for long, Madeline came and followed her back, and comfort that all three of you have tried to escape like this before, but it didn't succeed. After that, Madeline took Mina walking back to the cage, along with explaining to her the warning sign surrounding the cage in a circle. She said the sign was half a day away from the cage. As long as the sun isn't noon and they're still within the scope of this sign, they'll be back to the cage before sunset, which the man who made this sign, Kira and Daniel, called him Professor. And on the second night of Mina, Madeline has also suggested that tonight, let her be herself, because the watchers want that Mina then chose to watch a TV show while Kira chose to dance for them to watch. On the morning of another day, Madeline recommends having otters adapt to the routines they've done. By Madeline and Daniel, it's duty to go hunting, while Kira was on duty looking for herbal medicine in the woods. On this day, Mina goes to search for medicinal plants with Kira, and learned that she came here with her husband. But her husband went out to find help 6 days ago, but hasn't returned yet. That husband is the man we saw in the first scene. Then Kira took Mina to see the burrows of the watchers everywhere within this forest. She explained that every cavity is connected as a tunnel, and the watchers use these burrows for daylight travel because they can't get in the sun. But Kira also revealed that since she's been stuck in this forest for almost 6 months, she never saw Watcher. In time, Madeline explained to Mina the rules she had to follow if she was here. Which rule is that 1, does not turn away from the mirror. 2, do not open the door after dark. And 3, absolutely do not go into the cavity. Madeline says that whatever sword they follow this rule, everyone can coexist with Watcher in this forest in peace. When night falls, Mina is starting to get really bored with watching TV shows. She began to wonder if she had done something different. What will it look like? So she tried her finger to knock on the glass and use her head to listen to them outside, but when nothing happens, so she took off and decided to walk back to sleep. Suddenly, instead, there was a noise in the glass area. It's like the Watchers. It's mimicking Mina's glass knock for a moment. On the morning of another day, Mina went hunting with Daniel, and know that the Madeline, she was the first to discover the cage in this forest. She was also a university professor before, which is why she knows almost everything and is strict with everyone else. So Mina asked Daniel how long he's been here and have you ever seen the Watchers? Daniel then replied that he had been here for about 8 months and never saw them once, because Madeline once said no one could see Watchers survive. Mina, who grew tired of Madeline rules and theories, endured full strength, so she said she never believed that what Madeline said would be all true. So today she's going to prove for herself that guys, Watchers. What exactly is? It appears that Mina has walked to the cavity to go down and see it, with her eyes what's below. And even though Danielle doesn't agree with breaking her rules, but he also needed to cooperate with her because of the concern. Mina slowly moved downstairs, taking advantage of Daniel's rope, before she lit the lighter and gradually explored the creepy cavity below. At that moment, Mina had found various items of many humans. Whether it's an old instrument, the newspaper was 30 years ago video camera, or even a bike, with Mina asking Daniel to pull the bike and things up and up, as she began to feel that someone's eyes were watching her down here. When it starts to feel uncomfortable, Mina then told Daniel to rush and pull the floor, but Daniel upstairs didn't sound back, until Mina began to hallucinate in the dark. At the moment, she is very frightened, but soon those hallucinations disappeared. After that, Mina also brought different items back to the cage and offered the idea that this bike should have got them out of this forest before sunset. Meanwhile, Daniel tried to connect the camera to the TV, which he thought tonight he'll try to put the camera outside to see if the Watchers, what exactly is it shaped? That night came the trio, then waited anxiously for each other because they will finally see Watchers as sometime. But everything didn't go as expected, because tonight Watchers refused to come by appointment, in spite of that they never refrained from coming here for a single night. While sitting and waiting, suddenly with a voice coming to the door and shouted to Kira to open the door for him to enter. Claiming he's her husband, John, Kira, hearing that, walked to the door before even Drillin gets in her way and said that wasn't John, but a trick Watchers who wanted to come inside. But Kira didn't think so, because before leaving, John once promised her he'd be back. Also, Daniel agrees with Kira, because he sees that even if the people outside are not John, they should let him in, because he might need real help. With suspicion, the Madeline then walked in and asked, "Where exactly did you get those things?" until Mina admitted, confessing that by day she had snuck into the burrow and stolen it. Madeline was shocked. She therefore scolded Mina before she begged Kira that if you want to open the door, she had to ask a question that only she and John knew the answer, to prove that the person outside is actually her husband. Because of this, Kira then asked questions about the couple's favorite book, which is as expected because the guy outside who impersonated him was John. Can't answer that question. It is now clear that the man outside is not John, but as watchers come in disguise, but Kira still believes that's her husband. So she told him that at his feet there was a hidden camera, and she wanted him to show his face to everyone to prove that he really is John. It appears that when the man bowed down, his face turned out to be real John's face, but at that moment he's right about something. Pull away quickly. While everyone is in shock, suddenly the watchers outside instead, he became angry at being broken by humans. They're starting to make noise and smash the glass so badly that the cracking occurred. But still lucky that this time they're just warning, and let all 4 of them pass tonight safely. The next day, Madeline took everything back to the watchers. Along with scolding Mina for breaking the rules, almost got everyone in trouble, which makes Mina think back to the day her mother died. That day was a normal day of good weather, and her mother took her and her sister out for a drive, yet responsible as a stubborn child, instead trying to provoke her mother, until it finally caused the accident, although she and her sister suffered only minor injuries, but the couple lost their beloved mother in an accident that day. And today, Mina still blames himself, and it's one of the reasons why she became an introvert and lost contact with his sister because he still felt guilty. Months later, when it's winter, Mina, who's studying the area inside the forest, she happened to see Madeline and Daniel fighting. After this, he couldn't find food. Then she walked into the cage that on the ground has now become a huge map and met Kira, who remained so heartbroken by the events of that night that she changed into another person. While Mina is drawing more maps, suddenly instead she found out that Kira was not sitting in the same place. Mina then hurried out to find her worried. Before I met Kira standing on the edge of their burrow, watchers, Kira reveals feelings that before she thought her husband wasn't always dead, until that night that he's only a few cents away from her. It was the night that made her believe that her husband actually left her, while Mina was comforting her. Suddenly instead, the pair heard Daniel ranting in the middle of the woods. Both of them rushed to see. It appears Daniel has tied Madeline up and run away. While Kira tried to run after it, Mina helped untie the tie Madeline, and knew Daniel was absent-minded and thinking of doing stupid things. Mina and Madeline then ran after, but Daniel and the door lock locked them both outside, although the sun is almost setting now. While the 2 of them tried to shout, telling Daniel to open the door, Daniel responded back that he will control the rules here himself. Because of this, Madeline took Mina into hiding first, because otherwise the watchers maybe kill both. And when the time comes, the watchers gradually showed up by appointment. While Mina and Madeline felt so scared to see their terrible shape for the first time, when Daniel felt that the watchers had arrived, so he shouted to them that those 2 aren't inside with them, which makes guys watchers hurry and find both of them immediately. Now Madeline and Mina try to get back to pleading with Daniel again, and Mina, she revealed her secret, that when I was young, she's the cause of her mother's death, so she didn't want Daniel to make a momentary decision like her. Because of this, it will be his stigma for the rest of his life, to hear that Daniel agreed to open the door for both of them to go inside, which makes Madeline feeling very angry at his actions. While the watchers, running around the woods like crazy, Madeline then ordered everyone to stand in the mirror, along with confessing that she was a history teacher before, and she didn't come into this forest for being lost, but it was her own intention to study them. Madeline recalled that during her return from hunting to the frame, she's seen the watchers one time whose shape is shockingly similar to her shape. So that made her realize that the watchers, it's good at imitation and control the human mind to drive humans insane and become their toys. Now the watchers start bringing them back to the cage and start imitating words of all 4, and they're trying to break the door in, which makes the 4 of them push the table in the way. And it was at this time that everyone saw that under the carpet that covered the floor there was something on it, and when everyone opened it, it turned out that this was a large iron door that opened down to the secret room below. Now the watchers are on the verge of breaking the glass. The 4 of them then quickly climbed down the stairs and closed the door just in time. All 4 were quite surprised not to know that there was always this room under their feet. There's food in this room, someone's bed and desk. similar to how this place was specifically made to research the subject of Watcher. When Mina opens the computer, she also found several video files that clearly has a date, from 1 to 300. Mina started watching the video from day 1, and met an old man that recorded this video from the year 2009. He revealed that his name was Professor Dory Q. Martin, and this is the first day he has successfully built this building. Watcher's bizarre behavior is mentioned, that they came to watch him every night and changed bodies, mimicking his shape. Besides, this professor also revealed how to build this ladder, with a horrible trajectory, because he has hired many unemployed people come to work in the daytime, and then at night he snuck inside and locked the door, to see if the Watchers, how to kill those workers, which he honestly admitted that this method is extremely inhumane, but to study their behavior. Instead, he saw it as worth it. In a next video, the professor has revealed that on that day he can lure one of the Watchers into here. It was quite frightened and trying to get away, but the professor was trying to lull that it would be safe to stay here. Now Kira and Daniel can't stand watching anymore. While Mina has skipped the whole video, go see the summary of this story on the 300, which appears to be Professor. He's starting to realize that all he's done, it's immoral and lacks humanity. And now he's decided to end everything by killing that Watchers he locked up and erase yourself from this world. And before the last video ends, the professor asked people to watch this video, get out of here, with clearly telling the route to escape. And when successful, his last request is to destroy all his papers at the university and don't mention all this happening again. When the order is over, the professor climbed the stairs upstairs before 2 gunshots sounded, which is a sign that he did exactly what he said. And now everyone knows how to get out of here. So they happily celebrated each other for the last night. And finally, the morning everyone was waiting for came. They followed the path the professor said and leave Mina Parrot guide them again. On the way, the trio accidentally meet the cemetery door where the Walkers are incarcerated. It is said that in the past tense, after the Watchers defeated the war on the humans, they were banished into this hole. And ever since that day, they took centuries come up on Earth again, but bad luck for them to find myself no longer winged and can't stay in the sunshine anymore. Then the 4 rushed on their way while the sun, it's getting closer and closer to falling. Now, a flock of birds begins to fly past them, which is a sign that the Watchers are coming out. The 4 of them then accelerated their pace until they can successfully run to the lake. But while they're going to run to the boat, suddenly, Daniel heard John shouting, asking to take him with him. Daniel hardly hesitated and rushed in to help get him out. While the trio were about to take the boat away from the lake, started to notice that Daniel was missing after helping each other look. They also found out that Daniel was dragging John's body out of the woods, without him even realizing that the man who took it out was not John. Even though Kira tried to yell to him, but Danielle couldn't hear her voice until he was sadly killed by that Watchers in front of the eyes of the trio who were cruising away. The next morning, the trio sailed into the small community and asked for a bus return to their city. Mina announced in front of both of them that tomorrow she will travel to the university and follow the professor's request. That evening, Mina had returned to her room and do a body wash bath, who have lived in a mysterious forest for months. By the next morning, she went to university. And let's go into the professor's room with the impersonation that she is his granddaughter. Then Mina started searching for things inside the room, and to know that Professor, he's obsessed with Legends Watchers. In his voice recorder, there is also talk of that in the past tense humans and Watchers used to live happily together. Some even fall in love with each other, and even have children together. But when their power began to frighten humans, that therefore caused the expulsion and exile of them into the pit. But the bastards who are Watchers, children, and humans, there is no proof yet of whether they are extinct. At night, Mina traveled to find Kira at her home, and started telling me what information she had today. Mina said that at first she didn't think there was anything more than different information of the Watchers, until she met a picture. That is a photo of a professor with Madeline. Mina said Madeline was his wife, but what's even more shocking is that she passed away 30 years ago, which means the professor wants his wife back. So he took one of the Watchers and turned her into Madeline, but Kira wondered how it could be, because the Watchers can't get in the sun. Mina then said she just knew some information from the professor's audio tape that in the past, humans and Watchers used to live together and have children together. So she thought maybe Madeline has studied, maybe half man, half watchers, and has the ability to get in the sun. After that, the two of them waited for Madeline. Come here, because I don't want to send Madeline return to the woods. But while waiting, a car then drove into her home. Before I saw that the person who got out of the car was the real Kira. By now, Mina is starting to realize that the Kira who talked to her a moment ago was the Madeline. Before the real Kira opened the door in and was struck by a Madeline in John's body, she tried to run away but was caught. And knowing that Madeline, she was furious that humans let her and the other watchers be incarcerated in an underground hole for hundreds of years. After being swung against the wall, Mina tried to crawl away in pain, along with begging the Madeline to spare her life and Kira and return into the woods. Instead, the Madeline began to transform into Daniel and said she wouldn't go back into the woods because she spent months studying Mina in a cage closely, so that today she can kill Mina and take the trail of being her forever. Madeline starts dragging Mina around. Really, she is the Watchers. The professor took him prisoner, and the day the professor decided to murder her, she can take the gun from him and shot the professor twice. And when Mina tried to run back to save Kira, she saw the Madeline turn into her and tried to convince her to surrender to her worthless life. Now Mina is not frightened Madeline anymore and opened the door for her to come in easily before Madeline in the body of Amina would rush in, strangle her neck, and said that following, she will live in Mina's body to whitewash the sins Mina once committed against his own mother and abandoned my own sister for longer 15 years. But Mina tried to seduce her, that in fact Madeline can coexist with humans and there is no need to do this, because in the past, humans and voicers used to live together and love each other. And she believed that the Madeline was one of those bastards, because the Madeline can leave the forest and stay in the sun without anything. By now, Madeline is getting confused with herself and gradually she reveals her real body and fly off wonderfully. Madeline told Mina that she hoped what Mina said would be true. After Madeline flew out, Mina rushed in to help Kira and found out she was still safe. After that night, Mina went back to her twin sister and tell her the whole story. While on the outside, there was a girl standing staring at her through the window, which is probably that kid is Madeline, keeping an eye on Mina away. That's it.